what's up, everybody? It's Chef Jourdan-Cha'Taun, and you are now tuned in to Chefish. And today we have my girl, Chef Dayana Joseph, right?
Yes.
She goes by Chef Day, so just so y'all know. But you know, when I do the intro, we got to get that good government so you guys know who to get your Google on for. And so Chef Dayana was actually born in Haiti. Mm-hmm. And at 7 years old, she left Haiti and moved to Miami, Florida. Mm-hmm. Grew up there. And then from there, she went to New York at about 20. And when she went to New York, she was actually studying fashion. I mean, because look at her. She's a fashion girl, okay, from the head to the toe. So she was studying fashion for about a year, and she found herself to be unfulfilled. She wasn't really happy, and she wanted to dive a little deeper and figure out what her actual passion was. And it'll be for the moment because she's kind of like an eclectic artistry type of person. So she is a private chef. She's an executive chef. She's been on a few shows. So you've seen her on a few. She's a TV personality chef as well.
Yes.
And most recently, she has been the executive chef at the Thompson Hotel. But when she came to Atlanta, she helped open up Apartment 4B. And when Apartment 4B first opened, it's still one of the busiest restaurants in the city, but it was a big deal. It was a whole cultural movement, and she brought elevated Caribbean cuisine. And that's actually how I became a fan of hers. So for my Chefies out there wondering, how do I know her? That's how I know her. I saw one of her plates, and the colors were they popped, and you could tell that there were layers of flavor and a lot of thought. And then I found out about Apartment 4B, and I started becoming a fan and started following her. So if y'all are wondering, how do I know her? That's how. So welcome again.
Thanks.
To my lovely brown couch.
The brown couch. This is good. It's got good vibes to chill on.
Got a little character up in it, you know what I'm saying? So before I pass it on to you and you give it to us in your own words, you actually worked for the Dinex group in New York. And you worked with, how do you pronounce his name?
Boulud. Yes. So I worked at the Dinex group in New York City. It's owned by Chef Daniel Boulud.
Right.
He is a 3 Michelin star chef through and through again, who has a Michelin star flagship called Restaurant Daniel.
Yes.
And
where she worked at?
Where I worked at in New York, and multiple other locations like all over the world. So he's like the French chef.
Right.
Like, he's the guy.
Right.
Know? So, yeah.
Because you're French and Italian trained in fine dining, though. So that's something that we should also get a clear understanding on. Everything to do with her is elevated, high fashion.
Thanks,
You're
girl.
definitely spending money. I associate her with luxury, and she's definitely worth it. Okay.
Thank you,
So from there, you also had started doing some cooking classes and nutritional things for kids in Brooklyn before you came down to Atlanta. Because I want to make sure I kind of include that in your story before I give it over to you. So I can plant little seeds of something that you might tell us a little more about.
Yeah, definitely. I worked with this program called Brooklyn Supported Agriculture, and I taught culinary arts and nutrition to middle school and elementary school students in underprivileged spaces that were mostly food deserts in Brooklyn, where they only had bodegas and Chinese shops. So got to teach them vegetable literacy and how to cook and eat better.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah.
That's honestly, that was like some of the best stuff
fulfilling,
I've ever done. Yeah, oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I love that. And then you also had started working with Spring Place Studios. And you started creating recipes and things for them.
Girl, you did your homework. Wait a minute.
We did. This is a full production. I want y'all to know. I took this serious.
You're reminding me of my resume.
Yes.
I'm like, oh yeah, I did do that.
You did do that, girl, because I feel like sometimes, I really do like to do my homework on my guests because you're taking your time. And I am a fan. So anybody that comes here, either I'm a fan of theirs, I admire their work, or they're a friend. So everybody ain't going to be here. You know what I'm saying? It ain't for everybody. But I do admire you. So that's why you're here. But I definitely do my homework. The whole purpose of this platform is to give us a space to tell our stories.
Right.
Because sometimes when we are forward facing, it's bits and pieces and we don't really have the control over the narrative. So that's my whole thing with doing this. So welcome again.
Thank you, girl.
And
thank you.
And so to get into the, I gotta move my note cards over here. So I know that I gave a brief intro, but can you tell me a little bit what it was like moving from Haiti to Florida?
I only really remember bits and pieces. Like, I remember my first time landing in Miami International and seeing how much, like, all the lights, and thinking to myself, oh my God, they have current all the time. So we call current, electricity current.
Okay.
Outside of the United States, it's known as current. So,
okay.
Like, I remember getting off the plane and be like, oh my God, they have lights all the time. And I also remember just being big, bushy-eyed, just wide-eyed, just was like, oh my God, this is everything I've ever wanted to be a part of. This is where my life begins, right?
Like a sponge.
Yeah, immediately. Like, I'll never forget that plane ride because my cousins took us to Burger King and they handed me an American burger for the first time. And I was like, what is this? I did not like it.
No.
It took me years to eat a hamburger because I was like, oh.
Well, because in the islands, there's
no burgers.
No, it's not even that it's not burgers. They're not trying to kill you through the food. It's not.
There's no fast food, right? Just like the milk here. That's one of the things that I also remember as a child coming here. The milk is so watery here, and it's like that really white color. Like, milk that I'm used to is like off color. That's maybe like off white, and it's really thick, and the taste is completely different from the milk here. So those are the things I really remember. Like, fresh off the plane, you know, coming to the States for the first time.
I love that.
Yeah.
So then when you left Miami and you moved to New York, what was that? Because that's a totally different.
Yeah, that was honestly, I was like 20? Yeah, I was 20.
Because what made 21. You take that leap?
My closest aunt, her name is Junia. Junia is the American pronunciation, but Junia, she passed away when she was 34.
Okay.
She was my best friend. I used to stay up at night and tell her all my dreams and aspirations and all the things I was going to do. And one of the things was moving to New York and becoming like a big star, right? Because I wanted to be a fashion designer at the time.
Right.
She passed away, but she had also gone to New York, but she couldn't really make it in New York. I think she lived in New York for like maybe 3 or 4 months and she came back home running.
Okay.
Like, it's dirty, it's hard, I don't want to do it. And
I've always said New York will chew you up and spit you out before it'll ever bless you. Like, you really have to, when you move to New York off of a dream, you really got to be willing to struggle. Like, I have 5 of the mouse and Joe the Roach when I first got there.
Even know. You don't even know you're going to struggle. That's the thing that they don't tell you about New York is, if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, but you have no idea
what they're talking about.
Yeah, because I moved up there with like $10,000.
Oh, that was better than me.
And at the time,
that's a good start.
Right. I sold my car. I had my tax returns. I made a lot of money in fashion because I was like a stylist. I mean, I've been a hustler all my life, right? I was a stylist. I used to sell things. So I made it to New York with 10 grand thinking, oh, I'm Carrie Bradshaw on Sex and the City.
Right.
And I spent like I was Carrie Bradshaw on Sex and the City. No. And then I was broke in like 3 months.
Oh, no. No, shit.
So yeah, that's the struggles they don't tell you. They don't tell you that like all you see on TV is not real.
I came with $3,000 and I made it work.
But here's the thing. I think comparatively, we probably did a little bit of the same thing because either way, my 10 to your 3 doesn't make a difference if you're not locked in and you don't know what you're doing.
I didn't know what I was doing. They wouldn't give me a job in restaurants. I could only make $7.49 an hour when I first got out here or to New York. So it's definitely been a learning experience along the way. Yeah. But I was arrogant because I moved from Seattle, Washington, and I was like, oh, I'm making $20 an hour. Yeah. I'm right under the Sue. I'm the lead supervisor. You know, I graduated culinary, you know, whatever. New York was like, we don't care. True. And you don't have New York experience. We don't want you here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how am I going to get New York experience?
If no one will hire me.
No one will hire me.
Yeah.
So, okay. So now for the starter, just to give my listeners a taste, what was it like working for the Dinex group? And what is the Dinex group?
So the Dinex group is a compilation of all Chef Daniel Boulud's restaurants and investments and all the things that, you know, he owns, right? But it's made up of all these different corporate chefs and partners and heads, and it's all that. So what they have is they have like this kind of like training system where you could start at garde manger and you could work yourself up to becoming a chef, et cetera, et cetera.
Nice, yes.
Working there was like the military. It was the brigade.
Yes.
I couldn't do this. These was not a thing.
No.
Couldn't do this. That was not a thing. I had my locks wrapped up and then my toque on top, the little high toque on top, just pulled back, no makeup, fresh face. Actually, I'm lying. I wore makeup. I didn't care. Because I'm going to be...
I only did mascara and filled in my eyebrows.
Babe, I still did.
Sometimes I did eyeshadow when I had time, but I like the grill and the saute, so the heat and the flames. It didn't always work, but that was my rebel against the uniform. I hated uniforms, so I feel you.
So it was the checkered pants, the ill-fitting chef coat, and all the women in there looked like little boys. And all the men were just men. So to stand apart wearing makeup was something that I did, because I was like, if I'm going to be here all this time, I'm going to
look the way I want.
I'm going to look the way I want. And I have this thing, look good, feel good. You look good, you feel good. So, but working at Dinex was the military. It literally was like assembly line cooking. Yes, chef. No, chef. And I remember one time I was seasoning something and one of my chefs came up to me and said, that's enough salt. But the salt shaker I was using, it wasn't coming out. So I started to say, oh, chef, it wasn't coming out. So I'm trying to, he said, no. Yes, chef, is all I ever want to hear. And I'll never forget that, because it was so humbling. And I was like, oh my God, I can't even, because I'm an explainer. Right. I think that kitchen taught me boundaries and discipline. Right. Because I want to tell you why I want to do the thing and why you can't do the thing.
Bosses don't want to hear it.
He said no. It's a no. Yeah. It's a no.
It's a do what I said.
It's yes, chef. So that's the space that it was.
You hear that? Yes, chef. Mm-hmm. A lot of people in the industry, I feel like because of the rise of social media, haven't necessarily had formal training. Mm-hmm. So the more descriptive you are about that, the better it is for my chefies. And so since we did just get a little bit of taste. Okay. And so now let's get into the main course. Mm-hmm. Tell me, when exactly did you fall in love with food?
Okay, so I can't say exactly when I fell in love with food, but I can tell you when I committed to food. Okay. Right? Because we'll
take a commitment.
A commitment, because I don't I do. Okay. I commit. I commit to things.
Are you a toxic lover?
No, I'm a lovely lover. I am the loveliest loves that love ever has. I'm not afraid. I have an apprehension to certain things, to commit to certain things when they don't feel right? Because I'm a feelings person, right? Right. So let's talk about me committing my committing to food, not committing to work, because that's a whole nother thing. I believe that your job, your work, all that, it's all different. Anyway, right. I was 22.
Okay. I like that you're giving me numbers.
Yeah, because I remember, girl, I'm like an elephant. I don't forget nothing. Okay. Except for things I'm supposed to remember. I don't know. So I was 22 and I had my heart broken. Okay. Ripped out of my heart for the first time ever, right? I used to be the woman, the person who would love them and leave them. So maybe I'm a little toxic.
See? I told you guys.
But, so I had this guy break my heart. He was 30 something. I'm 22. He kind of love bombed me, right? Gave me everything I needed and then decided, I don't want you no more.
One day, done.
And in the midst of doing that, I was still working in fashion. I was can I cuss? Yes. I was bullshitting at my job. I didn't really care about my job. I had this man who I thought was going to be my husband, just young girl stuff, right? So he done it to me. In the process, I had already lost my job. Because I wasn't going to work. I was playing housewife, cooking for him and whatnot. Right. And when he broke up with me, I remember sitting in the middle of meatpacking district in New York, and he calls me, and he was one of those really fucked up type of people who told you he didn't want you, but still dingling a carrot in front of you. Anywho, he says yeah, I'm on a plane right now. I'm headed to this European vacation. Right. And here I am, 22, broke. Right. No job, no prospects. I've been fucking off for the past 3-4 months. Right. Behind on my rent. And I remember thinking, oh my God, I have nothing. Right. And I prayed in that moment and I said, I want something that no one can ever take anything from me. I want something I could commit to, something I can build discipline in, I can grow in, I can learn, I can make it my own, and no one will ever take it away from me. And I had to tune into what that might be. And for me, it was food, because I was so curious about food. I really wanted to learn more. You know, I started catering on the side here and there, and I called myself chef, but I knew I wasn't a chef, and I knew I needed the formal training, and I couldn't afford to go to culinary school.
Right.
So I was like, I have to work for this. So I prayed for the strength and the tenacity and the understanding to figure out how to pace myself into this new occupation, you know, because this whole time, you know, I forgot to say, I was in law school for a year, gave up on that because I was like, this is hard. And I wasn't into it.
Shout out to law school. If it wasn't so long, I would be a lawyer.
Right. Me too, right? Because I love to talk. Like, pay me to talk all day.
Pay me to argue.
And so, yeah, so I remember praying and just, and when I was praying for that thing, I knew that it was food. I knew that it was becoming a chef. Okay. But I was praying for that thing that no one could ever take away from me, that I can really dive into. And that's when I committed to food. That very moment when so-and-so told me he was on a freaking European vacation and I had no job. And I'm like, never again would I allow anything or anyone get in between me and my work. And that's when I discovered my work. Not my job, my work. There's a whole difference between that. And maybe I'll explain if you give me an opportunity. But
yeah. Well, I mean, we're in the main course. So if you want to give that breakdown, you can.
So
tell the chefies out there.
Chefies, hospitality folk, service workers, anybody who gifts their time, their body, their aptitude, their IQ, their talents to the betterment of other people, or sometimes even to the use of other people for profit. You must remember there are separate things between your work and your job. Two. Your job is the thing that puts food on the table.
Right.
Capitalism is what it is. Like, you're either going to make some money or not. However you make your money, that's your job.
Right.
Your work is what God has put you here to do. It is the thing that makes you of service to people. It is the legacy you leave behind. And let's say, for PC's sake, let's take God out of the equation. Whether you believe in the ancestors, Oshun,
I call it purpose work.
Anywho, anybody, anything you know that's higher than yourself.
Right.
Your work is to discover what that is and give back, right? Because we all have all these talents, whether it's in food or photography or XYZ, that in so many ways we're beacons of light and we're passageways to show the world that there is something bigger than us, something bigger than our egos and capitalism and the little things that we find so much love in, other than just being, right? That's your work. Right. You have to discover what that work is. And that work could look like anything from being of service to the people in your life, being of service to your friends and family, being of service to your community, being of service to the world. Like, the greatest people in the world, the people we look up to, the celebrities even, you know, they find their work, whether that's to entertain people, to save people's lives. Right. That is a difference. And that work never stops. Your job stops. You know, your job changes. Your job isn't what it is anymore. You change your mind about what you want to do, you know, but your work is to always, like, when you lock into that purpose, and some people call it purpose. Yeah. Some people call it alignment.
I call it my purpose work.
You know, but I call it work. But still, the name work is in it, right? Because it's something you do every day. Or you could even say your practice, right? Because as a doctor, they're like, oh, where do you practice? Because that never stops. When you're a doctor, you don't just become a doctor. You got to keep practicing. Yeah, everybody that you treat is a practice, unfortunately, but So your work, I think one of the biggest ways that I found peace and not attaching my worth to my job is understanding that my job is not my worth or my work. Right. You know, because when you name yourself and when you have a title, right? So my title is chef. Your title is chef. Right. So-and-so's title could be esquire or doctor. Right. Producer, videographer, all that. You know, the engineer, what you name yourself somehow, sometimes, and oftentimes becomes your whole identity. Right. And you become engulfed in that name. Yes. Right? And so sometimes you can't even see outside of that name you're giving yourself. Who are you? Who are you if you're not a chef? Or blah, 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 exactly. Exactly. So my name might be Chef Day, and I'm going to keep it because it's catchy and you're going to see it in lights. Yes. But that's not my work. My work is not just to be a chef. My work is to be a beacon of light, to be a reflection of love, and to be a reflection of God on this material surface. Right. So that has brought me a lot of peace when I run into walls and run into obstacles with this job.
Right.
Because this job, girl.
and we will get into that, but before we start talking about, you know, being an executive chef in corporate spaces, before you like left New York and came down here, you did a supper club in New York. So was this while you were learning the ropes? And for my chefies out there or people that don't know, what is a supper club? And tell me about that.
So a supper club is basically like a group of folks who get together around a meal every so often, maybe every quarter, typically not every day, but when the opportunity presents itself. And you have to be like, you have to apply or even be invited into this club because you want to have like-minded people at this table. Exclusive. You know what I mean? But not exclusive, but inclusive. Right. And so what I did with the supper club is create an exclusive like experience that was inclusive of anyone and everyone who was curious about it. Right. So it wasn't like, oh, you can't come. If you love food, if you want to kick it with me. And it looks beautiful to you and you would like to come and experience. Exactly. So that's what a supper club is. It's just like a club with people who like to eat and drink. Okay. Yeah. And when you were putting that together, did you have like a certain price point? Like, how did you figure those numbers out? I didn't know what I was doing. Okay. Tell us about it. So my first supper club event was Brunch with Day. Okay. It was in my apartment in Brooklyn. I didn't have no tables, no chairs, no nothing. Shout out to Brooklyn. Right. I love Brooklyn. Everything in my house was like basically found objects because one of my roommates was a photographer and he would just go out into the streets and find like a cabinet or a thing or a thing. And he was good at putting it together, but I had makeshift chairs, makeshift table. I charged $40 for a brunch. Okay. Per person. Okay. Which was nothing, but it was so lovely. It was like maybe 8 to 10 women who just came into my house. They came at 1. They didn't leave till 8. At one point, they were like, you making dinner too? I'm like, y'all gotta go. Actually, no. Actually, we need to ramp it up, okay? So, yeah, but it was a really beautiful space. I mean, we talked, we chatted, and it did exactly what I know that experience does, which is allow people to be themselves and put their guards down and, like, just share in a very real human moment. Anytime you get people together around food and drinks and just, like, in the right curated environment, I mean, I had flowers, I had cute little vases and things like that. You know me, I like the things. Yes. It helps people evoke that feeling. You're all about ambiance. Yeah, you're all about everything. The smells, senses. Yes. Yeah, I'm all about that. And I feel like they're kind of intimate. Like you don't like them to get. I don't, and that's the thing. Like as I continued to grow, you know, I went from 8 to 10 in my apartment and 40 up to what? To like, I think the biggest dinner party I ever did was 80 people at the Gucci Atelier in Harlem. Say that again. 80 people at the Gucci Atelier in Harlem. We love that. With Dapper Dan. And, what's up, Dapper Dan? So that was pretty cool. And what was that ticket? Oh, it was a lot more than that. I think on the low end, 500. And then on the high end, like probably 2,000 or 4,000 for the table, depending on the package and like whether it was one person or you're buying tables and things like that. So I went from $40 in my Brooklyn apartment to up to $5,000 a table with at Gucci. With Gucci. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you. That's a beautiful thing. Thank you. Do you remember what you cooked then? A lot of stuff, because all the menus were based on like a theme, right? So the one with Dapper Dan and Gucci, that was like all of his favorite things to eat. Okay. So it was everything. I mean, it was very soul food heavy, which was like a bit of a challenge for me because that's not my route, but I did bring in soul food focused chefs who helped me like nail it. That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. Mm-hmm. And then, so do you feel like you're going to be doing more of those here? I will. You will? I intend to. Because I know you've done a few, but I've only done like just to play around. Yeah, I'm bored. When I'm bored, I'm bored. I want to cook. People. Yes. Yeah. So you know, these days it's just me and friends. But yeah, usually it would be like a whole thing, and I've done 2 here in Atlanta so far. So I'm hoping as I transition out of my, when is this going to air? Can I say this now? Out of my corporate job. Because I'm transitioning, honey, that I'll have more freedom to do that. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I know that you've done restaurant consulting
and clearly because of your time with Apartment 4B.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to talk about that and what that experience was like?
Sure. I mean, consulting is cool because you're not tied to that specific place for a specific amount of time. And then at the same time, I think consulting in particular. So I opened Department 4B in 2020, July 2020. And then I left for a year and then I was welcomed back to help them get back on track. So consulting.
See what happens? Sometimes you got to leave for somebody to know how to miss you. You know what I'm saying? For people to understand what you contribute. It's
like that sometimes.
It is.
It is like that sometimes. So going, just consulting as a whole, it's kind of being that chef presence in spaces where there aren't that chef presence, like finding the consistency, getting the systems in order and hoping that they listen when you leave.
Right.
They don't always listen when you leave, but that's okay. Because the best thing about consulting is you're only there for a limited amount of time.
You get paid for a certain amount of time, y'all.
You name your price.
Yes.
And your proven track record shows that you're an expert, so they pay your price.
Right.
So ironically enough, I was paid more to consult for 4B than I was paid to open 4B.
Okay.
So when I came back, like my salary was double what I was receiving when I was actually there busting my butt.
Well, because then you had to get the money back.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So how actually did you get into consulting?
I just learned from other people. Like I just saw that other people did it and I was like, I could do it too. And because of my proven track record. So not only did I open Apartment 4B, but I also opened Rocksteady. I just wasn't there through the opening because I quit like right before they opened.
Okay.
So, I moved to Atlanta in 2019, September 2019 to get Rocksteady open, and they opened in October of 2019. So a lot of the things still on that menu are my original thoughts and ideas. I won't say recipes because they just can't get it right, but with all due respect. But
do you know Brianna?
Mm-hmm.
Chef Brianna?
I hired her.
Oh, okay. So have you been there since she's been the executive chef?
No, I mean I go there to
it's only been a few months now.
I go to the dance.
Yeah.
I go to the dance.
Because she's starting to make some changes
or whatever.
Good.
Well, I'm
asserting her. I feel like she's starting to assert herself and like find her voice. I always feel like we have to support each other.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
spaces.
That's amazing. I saw it on Twitter. And
shout out to social media.
Yeah. I saw it on Twitter and I congratulated her and I'm very proud of her. I mean, I met Brianna on Instagram. And before I even moved here, I had already was like, okay, yeah, she's going to work with me. And she had like a really great knack for pastry. So I was like, oh yeah, you're doing pastries because I can't bake.
Right.
So to see her like have been with them for so long and have grown and now is taking like full like authority of the space, then yeah, absolutely. I wish her well. I hope she's like getting in there and giving it to them how they need to get it.
Shout out to Diana at Rocksteady because it's not easy.
It's not easy, and you know what? It's a gorgeous. It's a gorgeous space.
It is.
It's got a lot of potential. I did see her.
Look at you. Okay, see, I'm telling you, she works at all the like top beautiful spots.
Yeah. So I saw Chef Brianna at
Brianna. She's like you, island girl.
Yes, Brianna at some kind of like event at Microsoft, and she had made some like stew thing, and I was like, girl, this is fire.
Okay.
So yeah, like if she's there, then they definitely will get an upgrade. So
yes.
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder if you've had it since she took over.
No, I haven't. I don't eat there. Like I go there on Tuesdays. They have an Afrobeat party, and that's my vibe.
That's your vibe?
That's my vibe. Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So back to the consulting. When you first got into it, you just kind of fell into it because you saw other people do it. And I feel like maybe you applied your experience in the fashion industry, working numbers, working the books, right? Because clearly you have to have a good understanding of working the books before you're able to do any sort of consulting. I wouldn't advise restaurant consulting and not knowing.
No, I wouldn't advise it either.
Yeah.
I did it because I learned a lot and I developed a lot of systems and templates while opening 2 different restaurants.
Right. With
Rocksteady and Apartment 4B.
But you took that experience with the Dinex group, right?
Yes,
and
that too.
That
too. All of that. So just an incumbent of all my experiences from knowing like steps of service from working in New York, from the experience that I've had opening multiple restaurants here and saying, okay, well, this could be done better. This could be streamlined. Like it's just, and then now I have all this wealth of knowledge in my Google Drive where it's like templates and formulas and all this different stuff.
Right.
Now all I have to do is plug and play and I can yield the same results for a lot of different businesses.
So I know that you're the executive chef at the Thompson Hotel. Do you want to kind of tell me about being an executive chef in corporate spaces, how you feel about that and the inner workings?
Yeah. So it's layered. It's not like anything I've ever dealt with before. Okay. It's different because this is a hotel. Yeah. And not a restaurant. Right. There's a huge, I'm realizing now there's a huge difference in a hotel, especially like a property like the Thompson, which is like grand scale, like luxury Hyatt property. So, it's a Lux Hyatt property. Yeah. It's like a Buckhead. And a boutique hotel. So it's nice. And let's just say I've learned so much. Right. I've grown so much, and I'm still there, but whatever experience I've gotten, I will take with me to my next thing. Right. Yeah. But it's definitely not.
Is it more male, and what is like the community space? Is it more male dominant?
Honestly,
is it more not like us spaces?
No, you'd be surprised. At the Thompson Hotel, there's a mixture. All the chefs are Black. Nice. All the chefs are Black. I've never been in a space like that before. All the chefs are Black. Okay. There's only like 3 male chefs to the 7 chefs altogether. Okay. So that's pretty great.
Yes, it is. You don't get that often.
You don't get that often. And I guess because we are in Atlanta too, it's that's why it's so Black, to be honest. I think that's why, because that we are still the experts here. Atlanta's still very Black. Right. So the experts in the field are doing this job. And so I just want to be, I want to be clear. So I'm an executive at the Thompson. So that's the thing. It's like, because it's a corporate space, there's more than one executive chef. Okay. Right. So
explain it to the chefies out there for the ones that don't know.
I'm the executive chef de cuisine, which means that my role is to change the menus, is to give the food space an identity. And then I have an executive chef who's on top of me, and he oversees all of the chefs and all the numbers and the business. Shakes the hands, kiss the baby. Exactly. And then there's an executive sous chef
who cooks on the line.
Who cooks on the line as well. So it's like, we got to inform. Yeah. Oh, yes. So this executive chef oversees the other chefs, cooks on the line, steps in when needed. Right. And then there's an executive banquet chef, and he does all the cooking for all the parties. It's a hotel, so we have bookings all the time. Exactly. And then we have an executive pastry chef, and she does all the pastries. And then from there we have sous chefs, and all the sous chefs are the second in command to all the chefs, like the managers, right? And then we have the cooks. Yeah. Who are honestly no less than the chefs. The cooks.
Well, the cooks are the ones doing the work on the line.
To be honest,
the cooks are the ones that do the work on the line.
I always say I'm only as good as my cooks. Right. I'm only as good of a chef as I am as my cooks are.
The teams are so important.
So important.
And learning how to speak people's language so that they will do the work for you. That's important as well. I think is a big thing. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about being in charge of a team and what you've learned about? Yeah. I used to run around talking about, I'm a boss. I'm a boss. And then I had to realize that I didn't really know how to be a leader. And it's 2 different things. And so I know how to boss people around, but that didn't mean that people wanted to work for me or that I made people feel good at the end of the day or that I even cared. It was more or less, I'm really military too. So I started out, I went to culinary, but I worked in a hotel. I started out as a banquet prep and worked my way up. And so just like you, like I was in boot camp. So my level of expectation and how I operate in the kitchen is it had been an authority. So it's different between a boss and a leader. Yeah. So what have you learned since you've been in that position?
I think I'm more of a leader than a boss. Okay.
Have you always been that way?
Yes. Okay. Because I actually think that it's more effective to be a leader than a boss. It is. Because you can lead people anywhere. Right. They don't want to be bossed around. Like, no. You know what I'm saying? So like,
they don't.
Yeah. Like and there's a difference. It's all in the tone. It's all in the delegation. But then there's also like, a fine line between like a fine line where you do have to assert yourself as a boss. Right. Yes. Because, right now I have 2 women who work for me. I have a staff of 4 because I work in the private club that's upstairs at the top of the restaurant. And the 2 of the ladies are wives. They're married to each other, and they're from El Salvador. Okay. And they are amazing. Mm-hmm. Like, they're the sweetest women ever, and they do the work, they do the job, they're amazing cooks. But I have found that I had to reel it back once I started to become a little too much of their friend.
Yeah.
And because I'm a more of a nurturing leader than I am a stern boss. And so there'd be times where it's like, okay, your stations are not ready.
Right.
Oh, well, chef, we're going to be slow today. Okay, but you should still be ready.
You should still be ready. There's always something to do.
So I definitely have learned
how to assert yourself,
how to assert myself, and how to separate.
Finding a balance.
Yeah, finding a balance between being a boss and being a leader, and not toggling too far into being their friend.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of if we're working, I have to try to tell people, because I've had a few people that I'm friends with come and work with me, and I tell them, like, when we're at work, you're working for me. I am the boss. We're not friends no more. So if I need something done, I'm not going to be able to coddle you, and hold your hand.
Yeah, I can't hire my friends anymore because I've done that too. So that's a funny thing too, because as much of a leader as I am, I still have that, like, direct, get this done within this amount of time, do this, do. So, like, I still have those motivations because of the spaces that I've, like, kind of come up in as a chef.
Right.
So there has been instances where I was hiring my friends too, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're a bitch."
Ooh,
and I'm like, dude, I have to be, because I need you to get this done. Like,
get the work done.
Because I'm serious and you're not serious, because you're used to day, like sunshine, happy, like,
and we're friends.
And chef day is like, no. Do that, do this, put this here. And it's like the tone changes.
Right.
There's no more coddling. There's no more honey, sweetie, babe.
Yeah.
It's just like, get it done. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So learning the balance of being a better leader.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
There's a lot to it. Like, and especially even in Atlanta, because it's still the South. So the Southern sensibility is very much here. Whereas in New York, I could get away with saying what the hell to someone and they wouldn't even flinch.
Not even trying to write you up.
Like,
writing you up in the office.
I talk with my hands clearly, and this is menacing and intimidating and aggressive to some people here. Yes. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm just a New Yorker. This is
respectability, politics, and Black woman.
Right. And I'm Caribbean, so I speak with my hands, and sometimes I don't know if I'm being too loud. Sometimes I'm just excited and passionate. I'm not angry. I'm not aggressive. So there's all of that too.
So having to deal with that.
So much.
Yeah. So do you feel like you deal with a lot of, like, cultural, like, getting people to understand, like, your cultural identity and your approach?
Yeah.
Do you still feel like you're still trying to figure it out, or that other people are trying to figure out how to take it?
People are trying to figure out how to take me because I have so much of a cultural identity, right? There's the Haitian woman.
Right.
There's the New Yorker. There's the Miami girl. There's the person who grew up in male-dominated kitchens where all you did was get yelled at and cussed at. And I talk like a sailor.
And nobody cares about your feelings.
Exactly. So,
are you trying? You better go stand in the walk-in.
So there's that. And then what I think I've had the biggest issue with is that, oftentimes when people go to hire me, it's like, oh my God, we love you. We love how bright and energetic and passionate and how you talk with your hands and how you're just this person. And it's like, we want you because we want you to represent us in this capacity. We want a confident Black woman leading this and doing this, right?
Right.
The actuality of what that looks like, they don't always understand until it happens. And then I'm being told to quiet down.
Right.
Or I'm being told to make myself small. Or I'm being told to fall back. And it's like, but wait, you hired me to do this job and I'm doing it the best way that I know how. And sometimes they want you to do a job. They don't give you standards. They don't give you boundaries. They don't give you benchmarks. They don't give you any real ways to understand how to do that job. And then so you deliver in the best way that you know how.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you've been doing everything wrong.
Right.
And you're like, wait a minute. Like, y'all didn't tell me. If you would have given me a guidebook and said, these are the parameters, then I could do it. But you threw me in. You said, hey, we love you. We want you. Everything you stand for, all of who you are, come into this space and give us day. And then when they sit with it, they're like, ooh, we didn't want that day.
So it's kind of like a double-edged sword.
It is. And oftentimes I feel like when I know this is going to sound crazy, when I'm loud and boisterous and passionate and smiling and attitude and all of that, and it's at the benefit of others, they love me. When it's me trying to do it to express myself, I got to quiet down.
Right.
And that literally has been such a... God's working on me.
Right.
Right? Because I'm a very jovial, happy person regardless. Right? But in that same jovial, happy way, I express myself very emotionally.
Right.
With that same joy and boisterous, loud personality, but at the defense of myself, it's wrong. And that's really uneasy for me.
So do you feel like in these corporate spaces, you've had to start addressing maybe like more of your mental health?
Yes, I just took a month and a half long sabbatical.
Okay.
Because of it.
Okay.
Because of exactly what I just explained.
Okay. So do you feel like that's kind of like a suffocating feeling? Do you feel like you started going through like anxiety or things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
And anxiety manifests in so many ways. Y'all. It manifests in the way of me losing everything. Okay. There was one week where I lost my wallet, my AirPods, my phone, like in the space where I work at. Like, how am I just losing things?
Right.
You know, or even not being able to separate work from home. And I come home and my beautiful, gentle partner who is so unproblematic.
Right.
Like my partner, Ray, they have they, them pronouns. They're so kind, so chill.
Hey, Ray.
Not at all like me. Not this talking with your hands. Like Ray is from Cali. Gentle, chill. And I'll come home and I'll be like, and then these motherfuckers. And I'll go on for like 2 hours. And my poor baby just sits there and like make space for me to do that. And it's like, there was a week where I came home and had 3 breakdowns in front of Ray, and our relationship is still very new. Right. And I never really wanted them to see me that way.
Right.
And I had 3 breakdowns in front of them. And that's when I realized, oh my God, I am losing my mind. Like, I have PTSD.
Right.
I didn't realize it.
Okay.
Until the triggers became so easy. Right. Like, it was so easy for anything to just be like, oh my God.
And so are you in therapy? Yeah,
I'm in therapy.
Okay.
Heavily medicated. It's great.
Okay.
And honestly, I think.
And what does that look like for you if you're comfortable?
It's just exploring. Like sometimes we have chemical imbalances.
Right.
You know, and our brains don't produce serotonin or any of the other chemicals we need to be happy because of trauma, because of genetic things.
I always say that mental health is just as important as
physical health,
spiritual health, even academic health. Like if
I'm honest, mental health is the most important.
It really is.
I think that your mental health trickles down to everything else. If you're not mentally sound, you're not going to be sound physically, spiritually, emotionally.
Okay.
Like, because when you're mentally healthy, when you feel good, you want to work out.
Right.
When you feel bad, you feel like it's a task, it's a chore.
Right.
But you know you're getting older and you have to move your body more. You got to stretch. You got to take your vitamins. Right. When you're happy, when you're balanced,
you look forward to the walk.
Exactly.
You look forward to the workout.
So to be honest, because our brain is literally the receptor of everything else, like our brain and our gut is what controls our whole body. If your brain is not where it's supposed to be, it's sending signals to your gut, and your gut's not where it's supposed to be, and that's sending signals to your rest of your body. Right. So mental health, I think, is the most important. So I take medicines that just help give me a little boost. Nothing that's habit forming or like a narcotic, but I didn't grow the right chemical things while I was in my mother's womb and/or throughout my developmental stages to maintain my happiness.
One of my therapists along the way kind of explained it we weren't necessarily given the tools in our toolbox. Yeah. And so mental health is always something that's important to me. I've suffered from debilitating depression where sometimes I can't leave, I can't move. Yeah. And so mental health is super important to me. So I truly appreciate you giving us that insight.
Yeah. Because we need to stop making it feel like
it's taboo and a stigma.
And it's not, because really sometimes like,
well, this is pressure for us as Black women. I mean, Black men too, where there's just so much pressure. We have to work 10 times harder. And then, you know, if we want certain lifestyles, we have to maintain those, you know, it's one thing to get it. How do you maintain it? And it's just like, kind of like a hamster wheel sometimes. Right. So I'm happy that you were able to talk about that. So you also do private chefing. And I know that you're figuring things out right now with your current position. So moving on from this, do you see yourself doing more consulting, or do you want to switch back to private chefing?
I want to do anything that allows me to spend my time how I want it to spend my time. I don't want to get back into being a full-time private chef because there's no time, right? Like, it's just,
it's their time.
It's their time.
It's the client's time.
I don't want to get into consulting unless it's the right thing. Like, I don't want to do anything because I need to do it or because I have a fear of lack.
You want to do it because you want to do it.
And because I'm good at it and because y'all should be paying me to do it.
Right.
Like, I want to get paid to do what I'm best at. I want to get paid to do the things that I love. I want to get paid to be myself.
So do you see yourself opening your own restaurant?
That scares the shit out of me.
So you don't see it?
I do, but it scares the shit out of me. That's just the honest truth.
Well, you just got to play with other people's money.
Well, yeah, but I'm not the type of person that's going to play with other people's money and not worry about how to maintain, like, even though it's somebody else's money, it's my reputation. It's my time.
Well, I don't know. If you look at the track record, the places that you've opened.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It's looking pretty solid.
It's looking pretty solid. Yeah.
It's looking pretty solid to me.
I think the fear comes from the PTSD. The PTSD of having open restaurants. Like, all of my experiences in combination in Atlanta have been the best and the worst.
Well, you know what I try to do when I'm dealing with that type of stuff is putting a time limit on it. Like, literally, like, certain things sometimes our brain can be a mental prison. Like, literally our heads can be a jail cell. We're replaying something over and over. We haven't forgiven ourselves. We think we did the wrong thing. We're obsessing over things that haven't even happened. You know what I'm saying? We're obsessing about things that aren't already done. Right. And so when I catch myself in those times, because they do happen, I have to tell, okay, we got 24 hours or okay, we got 48 hours. And then I have to, like, flush it out and, like, let it go. Of course, there's some things where you have to figure out the root and pull it up or whatever. But I feel like you make really good money with consulting. So maybe manifesting it looking like all of them have time limits and not necessarily until you get the capital for the bigger thing. You know what I'm saying? Or till you get that relationship where they'll allow you to be you and give you the budget, right? What would that actually look like?
I don't know. Well, what would it look like with someone giving me the budget and allowing
the dream? If it could be exactly the way you...
Babe, but there's so many layers to the dream. Like, I'm such a multidisciplinary, like, the dream is, right? Like, I'm a household name. I'm a household name. I'm on television.
Okay.
I have retail items that I sell that are food related items, like home goods things. You know, I love to interior design. Okay. Home goods things, like, I don't know, whatever.
The Haitian Martha Stewart.
The Haitian Martha Stewart.
Yeah.
Is the dream.
Yeah.
Or not even like just me. Like, me literally living in the alignment where I get paid to do what I
No, but I just feel like Martha Stewart is that pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? She been to the fence.
I say that a lot.
Shout out to Martha.
I say that.
Shout out to Martha.
I say I'm gonna be across.
She got the farm. She still got the look. She's like, I'm 70s. I'm still about to put the pout on, and we okay.
I am mad at her. But
just on this side,
like a cross between Martha Stewart and Oprah.
Okay.
Because I want to be on television and talk about it.
Okay.
But I also want to, like, sell the things, make the things, do the stuff, open the restaurant.
Okay.
Like, all of that.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I want.
So what would that show kind of look like, though? Would it be like, what was that one chick's name back in the day on, like, BET? Rachel something?
Rachel Ray?
No.
I was going to say
Black
that was a
Caribbean girl. Rachel something.
Oh, there was a show on BET?
She wasn't a chef. She was just some chick that traveled around. I forget what her name is. But, like, how would it look?
So it would look like...
You're saying kind of Oprah-y?
Yeah, so it would look like you come into my home, which is obviously a set or something, and we're making this meal together. And we're talking about the meal. We're talking about the things we're doing. But then we're also talking about where we are in the world. Like, interview kind of vibes, like almost like this, but just with a little bit more mechanics.
Yeah, if I had the budget. Yeah. When I get the budget, we're going to add the kitchen. Yeah. Believe it. The kitchen is coming.
Because the kitchen is such a pivotal part of conversation, right?
Like, for us.
Yeah.
And then us being able to cook together. Hello.
Yeah, for sure. So it would look like that. And I mean, or maybe it would look like the day of, I don't know. It's so funny because the producers are asking me, like, what does it look like? And
but don't give them too much.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Because they like to take the ideas and run off.
And give it to somebody else, huh?
Yeah, because, television business is like the record business. It's like people will be excited, and then all of a sudden you'll be on the shelf because new VPs came in, somebody got fired. So it's like, and then sometimes they literally, because a lot of times they like for us to sign up, and they'll be like, oh, it's going to be one thing, and then you get there and it's something totally different that you didn't sign up for. Yeah. So then it's just like, you don't really want to be a part of it. So it's about finding like that space. Yeah. And so I'm happy that you actually brought up the aspirations of being a more notable TV personality. I was looking for the word. So a TV personality, because you've been on Guys Grocery Games and was Chopped. It Chopped? Okay. And what were those experiences like?
It was fun. My first Guys Grocery Games, it went by like this. Like those 30 minutes to make those dishes, I was hot. I was running. It was a lot. So, I never thought I'd be the competition chef, but because it opens up an opportunity for me to be on television. Right. And now I'm noticing that I am competitive and I do want to win. And, the more you understand how the TV works and how the shows work, the better, the easier it gets for you. And I guess I make good TV, so they keep inviting me back. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah.
So you kind of talked about already what that would look like, show wise, but what would like your dream restaurant look like?
Oh my God. It would be floor to ceiling windows everywhere. I'd have a tree right smack dab in the middle of the restaurant. It would be almost inside outside vibes where like there'd be so much plants you won't even know if you're inside or outside.
So farm to table-ish.
Farm to table-ish. Although if I'm honest, knowing where the industry is going, that's not actually the most sustainable thing right now to assume that you could be a farm to table restaurant. It takes a lot more money and a lot more resources. Yeah. But God is good. I might have that money and the resources.
Well, sometimes you don't have to create the wheel. It's already there and somebody needs the help. So either they're old and they don't want to let it go and they need, it's out there. Please believe it.
For sure. There's always a way. I received that.
Okay. Yeah. So kind of like the inside outside feel. And what kind of food would you be serving?
Whatever I feel like it.
Whether
it's a
so you would like it changing
as often as possible.
I hate the set menu.
Yeah,
I hate it.
All chefs do, but when it comes down to making money, you kind of
the customer always wants the same thing. Your regulars are who keep you in business.
And not even that. It's just the dollars and cents of it all.
Right, to make it make sense.
To change like your menu as often as you would want to takes a lot of like money, right? Because you have to have the stuff and the people, and you have to be able to pay people who work well enough that they can take last minute changes. Right. Right before service, like you're like, oh, I want to roll out this 16 course tasting menu. They're like, oh,
we don't even know how to do that.
Exactly.
You want some gelée.
Right. So then you need to be able to have the people to pay the gelée people. Right. So, and then you have to be able to have the money so that if yesterday you didn't sell off that menu, you don't see much of a loss, or you're transitioning it into it's just, back in my day, back in my dream sequence of becoming a chef, I thought that all these things were so possible, and they are, but the food space is really changing. Right. And we have to be more considerate of our consumption. So maybe I don't change my menu every day because I feel like it, because I'm wasting too much food. Right. And, hopefully we don't never get to it, but there may be a time where food becomes a true scarcity. Right. And dining out.
It's happening already.
It's happening already in very small ways, in very small dosages.
Larger ways than what people know, especially with the chickens and the eggs and all of that. And then all of that stuff that happened with Ohio and the toxins leaking. It's bad out here. Yeah. But truly, if you guys were more educated on what was going on in the food space, you would be terrified to eat and drink these days.
It's a lot. Scary. I try not to think about it.
Try not to. Okay. For our recipe for success. So for my chefies out there, or food professionals that are looking to take that leap of faith and either get into restaurant consulting or the private chef space, what would be your top 3 things to advise? You choose which one you want to talk about and give us 3 things. For the newbies, the little babies.
Pace yourself. Don't take on too much.
Okay. Be realistic.
Be realistic
of what you can do, and honest with yourself.
And honest with yourself and your clients. Okay. Like, big time. Be honest with yourself and your clients. Your word is all you have, right? Okay. 2, do the research.
Are we saying for private chefing?
For everything.
Okay.
Whether it's private chefing, consulting, or going into an executive chef job in a restaurant.
Yes.
You got to know your demographic. Who are you feeding? Right. What space are you going to be in? What are you capable of producing? Don't overpromise and underdeliver. Yeah. Right. So, but doing your research, you know that, like learning, and ask all the questions. No question is a bad question. Whether it's your boss, a client, or, a food client or consulting client, ask them what they want. Right. Not what you think they need. Ask them what they want, take the notes, put them in bullet points, and those are the deliverables. So that, because what happens often is like you tell them, hey, I'm going to do all these things, and you're saying it in chef terms or professional terms, and they don't know what any of that means. Right. You have to simplify it and outline it so they know what to expect. And that way, whenever you come back down to the table and you're like, oh, hey, you said you wanted 3 meals a day and you want them to look like XYZ. Remember when you wrote it down and I took, it's just everything in writing. Okay. Everything in writing. Everything in writing. And finally, it's your job, not your work. Okay. So it's okay to transition in and out of any job. Right. It's okay to transition from being a private chef to a consultant. Right. It's okay to go back into a corporate space and take on a corporate job and being an exec. You can be all of the things. You could do all the things because it's your job, not your work. Right. Your work is to continue to find the thing that allows you to be of service and to be a reflection of love in this space. Okay. Right? Your job is the thing that keeps the food on the table. It's what we do because we live in a capitalistic space. So boundaries are key, y'all. Yeah. So boundaries are key. Like your job versus your work, like just always being able to identify the two. And that's gonna spare your feelings a lot. Okay. Yeah. All right. That was a solid 3. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then for our palate cleanser. Okay. After you were cooking all day and you get home, what are you making for yourself to eat? A bowl of cereal. Frosted Flakes. Okay. With cereal, girl. Yep. 2 parts milk, 3 parts cereal. Okay. Yep. Be specific. Yep. You heard? I gotta have my little Frosted Flakes in the corner. You having regular milk or are you having I'm having oat milk. Oat milk or almond. Okay. Yeah. I don't do regular milk. Dairy. Not really. I cheat. I still eat ice cream. I like cheese. I like ice cream. I like cheese. I like butter. I like the things. But I'm not gonna drink regular milk in my cereal. Not every day. No. Yeah. No. Okay. And then when you are creating in the kitchen, what is like your go-to music to listen to? Like the first thing you would like turn on? Oh, that's a hard one because I want to say, I'm listening to jazz and I'm listening to trap music. Angsty black girl rap. Okay. Like I'm listening to Mulatto. I'm listening to Glorilla. I'm listening to, she's getting turned up. I'm going back. I'm listening to Lil' Kim. I'm listening to Foxy Brown. I'm listening to angsty, like loud woman music. Okay. Like let's call it that angsty, hear me roar. I'm taking up space. Here's who I am. Right. Like feeling that myself. Power. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm listening to in the kitchen. Yeah. I love it. And then for our dessert, tell us about the Mama Project. The Mama Project. Mm-hmm. Girl, you did your research. Yeah. Tell us about it. That's so funny. Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Bring it back. So I was in a cohort in Brooklyn. What's that? A cohort is a collaboration of either artists or doers and thinkers who work in unison to do a service project or to grow or to become like leaders in their fields or whatever. Okay. So this was like an artist project that I did in New York City. And basically what I did was interview mothers in the in the Brooklyn area that I was assigned and interview them and get to know how they feed their children. Oh. And whether they had a lot, whether they had a little, or whether they were in between. Because, New York, the boroughs in New York can be very big food deserts, especially Brooklyn. Yes. So the women, I interviewed 3 different women in Crown Heights who had 3 different income levels. One of them was very wealthy, housewife. Another one was a grandmother who was taking care of her grandkids, and another was like a well-to-do woman who worked and took care of her kids. Okay. So basically, I think that moms always make the best something. Like my mom makes the best chicken, my mama makes the best rice, etc. Yeah. So I wanted to study how these women fed their kids, where they went to shop, how they, you know, what their missions were, and like how they gathered their families around food, whether or not they had schedules where they could all sit down and eat together or not, or whether it was all just grab and go. And then I took their best recipe for something, anything, and put it in a book. Okay. And that book was published within the cohort. And it was like their recipes in a book. And basically, they were to get a percentage of the sales of the book. Okay. Unfortunately, because I moved to Atlanta in the middle of that project, I didn't get to see it through all the way. That's why I'm like, how do you know about this? I'm like,
I got a really good producer. Her name is Quana. Shout out to Quana.
Like, girl.
I mean, I did a lot, but she did a lot. She does the whole entire outline, and then I go through at the end.
That's dope. But
I go a little deeper because she actually produces multiple shows.
That's dope. She's wow, girl. Go ahead. But yeah, it was an amazing project that I really wish I could have finished, because it was actually something that I wanted to do on a grander scheme, was going into like the diaspora and like going to parts of Africa and the Caribbean and all these different parts and learning how mothers feed their kids, because I think that mothers and women are the cornerstone of food. You know?
I think that you could do that initiative here.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah, and it's Women History Month. There's all kind of people with money laying around right now. Yeah, you got the time.
No, not so much anymore because I gotta get back to work soon. But
not if you could collect an easier check.
I know.
I'm serious. Leaning into that purpose work. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like there's a whole total different energy in your aura and how you talk when you're actually doing stuff for women and children. Mm-hmm. It's a totally different.
It is.
It's a totally different thing.
It is.
So I might, you know what I'm saying? That might be where the energy needs to go. And so do you think that you'll be doing any type of initiatives like that?
I would like to.
Now that we brought it up.
I would really like to. I mean, I've been trying to get in touch with, I'm in touch, but I want to work for Gooder, which is, I don't know if you're familiar with it. But
no, what's Gooder?
Gooder is dope. From what I know of them, it's a Black woman who started feeding the homeless out of her house. Okay. And she has essentially grown that platform to leveraging logistics and technology to use like food that would otherwise be wasted in restaurant spaces to give back to the community. Nice. So, and like when I found out about it, I was like, wait, this exists?
That's here?
It's here.
Okay, Gooder.
Yeah, a Black woman made it.
Shout out to you, Black Girl Magic.
Yeah.
We love that.
So like, I'm like, that's the purpose-driven work. So that if I had to have a job,
the Mama Project.
Yeah,
call it something else.
Yeah, I might have to do that. You know? That's so funny. You guys
God
don't
make no mistakes. The higher power don't make no mistakes.
And you had to leave it for last, huh? That was a good one. That's a good one.
I'm telling you, my producer helped lay this out. I ain't even gonna take that credit because we do the recipe for success, the palate cleanser, the dessert, and now we about to wrap it up. For my Chefies out there that want to follow you, where can they follow you? Where can they find you? Is anything coming up that they should be on the lookout for?
Well, nothing coming up, but continued excellence.
Something is coming up. She just can't talk about it.
Yeah, I can't. But you can find me on Instagram, Chef Day, DAY _, because somebody else got the Chef Day name and they haven't been on Instagram since 2014.
And that's not her.
I'm trying to get my name back.
But you don't see this beautiful face.
It's not me. So Chef Day _ on Instagram, and then on Twitter it's Dope as Day. Okay. So, and I tweet.
You're not really a Twitter person.
I'm a visual person.
Follow her on Instagram.
Instagram. Chef Day _ is lit. My stories are lit. I do a lot in my stories.
Tune into those old episodes of Guys Grocery Games.
Yes, and Chopped. Yes.
And be on the lookout for this beautiful face right here.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Chef Day, for joining me for Chefish.
Thank you.
And we out.
We out.
And we wrap the season.